Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever wanted to wipe a town of its native population and then sleep soundly the following night because racism and extermination are not considered sins? Have you ever wanted to learn valuable life lessons? Lessons like women can be valuable to your growth, making you a better version of yourself. And lessons like women can be detrimental to your growth if you succumb to your emotional needs. Have you ever wanted to take a sniff? Like a little casual sniff, nothing too on the nose that would shun you from your friend circles. If so, look no further than Elden Ring, a fantasy RPG developed by Fromsoftware, which means, yes, it is a Souls-like game. You will die, scream, cry, shit, and you will coom over and over again. To begin your journey, you must create your character.
Sin City was
I chose an astrologer because it seems like women that are into astrology tend to fuck shit up, so I thought maybe being an astrologer would let me cheese through the game. It did. But only after I spent countless hours exploring the beautiful vistas and striking locales the lands between have to offer. You see, I'm a sky baby. I suckled on Skyrim's magnificent exploration bosom like no other, because the world would constantly nourish my mind with vital information. Elden Ring is much of the same. The world is packed with messages left by the player that nudge you in the right direction or shed light upon questions that could be plaguing your mind. Questions like, what is the leading cause of death amongst homoerotic baboons? Fingers? Butthole? Or questions like, what should Serjuh review next? Get used to these messages because they are your most consistent form of storytelling during your adventures, as the side quests in this game are structured with the assumption that you can fill in country-sized blanks to form a cohesive chain of events. Listen, I'm no Souls expert, I only played Cuphead, so I don't possess a cerebral cortex enchanted by Souls logic that would be capable of guessing that an NPC will teleport from buttfuck nowhere to bomb coitus elsewhere after a brief encounter. I'm all for the absence of quest markers. I think they're a blight on gaming, implemented only to save developers a few lines of text and to make sure A-brains have a bright light they can follow to progress with the story and their article. But give me something. A simple "the hoes are south of Fortnum's grave" would be more than sufficient. If I know where that is, I can begin my journey. If I don't know where that is, then at least I have something to keep my eye out for while exploring. That is if I don't forget about it 5 minutes later. Elden Ring is an all-you-can-eat buffet of content. You need an avocado-sized cranium to keep up with the constant leads it throws your way. It's an open-world game, one in which everything you see is part of the explorable world. Even parts you don't see, like caves, catacombs, mines, and other forms of dungeons, are explorable. Naturally, this means your adventures will be full of detours and rabbit hole deep dives, if you're the slightest bit intrigued about this world's curiosities. And it's not like the world is full of Ubisoft-style content, where you clear the same outpost 500 times to progress with the story. Here, each location, minor or major, will have something about it design-wise that makes it stick in your mind, be it the aesthetic, a boss, or a type of loot you find. The latter of which is important because Elden Ring is an RPG, and not a Skyrim-type RPG where a warrior can become an archmage with little to no magical prowess. Here, if you want to wield a comically large hammer, you have to be strong.
That fucking muscle is bigger than anything you've ever seen!
Likewise, if you want to roleplay the grandfather emoji, you have to invest enough into dexterity and grab yourself a whip. There's a ton of weapons you can mix and match to suit your playstyle, on top of which you can also apply or utilize Ashes of War, that serve numerous purposes, be it damage dealing, schmoving around, or buffing. If you're feeling a bit more fruity, you can hold a stick and cast a variety of spells. Or, if you want to feel a bit more badass and see some top-tier animations, you can go with incantations. Essentially, they're just spells that scale off a different attribute. No matter what your statistical goal is, strength, dexterity, intelligence, or faith, there's one stat that is not to be neglected. Vigor, or Viga for you undead folk out there, is your HP stat, and it ramps up big time around the 40-ish point mark, giving you enough resolve to tank hits that otherwise would one-shot you. What makes this game beautiful is the progression. You start broke with no maidens and embarrassing drip. Imagine your family seeing you in this. And then with each location you clear out, you become a
stud.
The gear you acquire is not only a statistical improvement, but also a testament to the fact that you are
Ballsy.
and don't
Take no shit from anyone.
You bonk and bzz.
Anywhere one.
And if some encounter proves to be too challenging, there are a few solutions at your disposal. 1. If you're respected in the hood, you can call upon your gang to experience death. 2. You can summon an NPC cooperator for some boss fights if you completed the prerequisite side quest steps, which you haven't because you need a guide for that shit. 3. If all else fails, you can always call upon yourself, because there is no one more fitting for a challenging boss fight than the guy that keeps dying to it. Ladies and gentlemen, you don't get subscribers without making some enemies, and my enemies are cunning. You would not even know you're under their influence if it wasn't for this immersion-breaking segment. Did you know that whenever you subscribe to Serjuh, you save a jar from game ending itself? That's right. The leading cause of sewer slide amongst jars is caused by your inaction. Your hands are bloodied and your soul is tainted. Hit the button or explain to this mourning mother why her sons had to turn into fashion statements. When it comes to Elden Ring, I'm no lorebeard. I could not possibly tell you what this game is about on a deep narrative level. I can, however, share some insight on my favorite character, Radahn. General Radahn, astrology-hating Star-Scourge Radahn, is a demigod that had his heart broken by one too many maidens that all had blamed the breakup on the alignment of the stars. A chain of events that kickstarted Radahn's villain arc. Radahn, then a wee Serbian boy who idolized Yugoslav heroes by embodying them on his armor, decided to go on a balk during the summer, a sign of dedication that was noticed by the gods, to which they bestowed upon him growth beyond his wildest dreams. This, however, came with a downside, as Radahn, now a hulking mass of muscle, was too voluptuous to ride his horse, Leonard, named so after one of the characters in the Big Bang Theory. Radahn, believing fate is his own and not of the stars, decided to enrich his mind with knowledge pertaining to sorcery, specifically gravity sorcery, to manipulate his weight and ride his loyal steed as he carries out his revenge plan. Radahn, a compassionate man who wanted to make sure no soul ever gets harmed because of some floating rocks, did the only thing he could do. He stopped constellations in their place, sending astrogoobers worldwide down a path of insanity. This is a classic example of they broke, I'm up. Greatly, vastly, and enormously are all words that describe magnitude to different extents. When you see an item that vastly increases your stats in Elden Ring, you know it's better than the item that greatly increases stats. But do you know to what extent? For some items, yeah, if you want to put your thinking cap on. But for others, there's no indicator other than a more oomphy prefix word. I don't really mind going around with a caveman mentality of Grug think bigger better, but an addition of text stating the change in percentage would be a nice touch. Have you guys heard about this little indie game called The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, in which you have a window showing all the dialogue options that are color-coded to differentiate used and unused dialogue? You know, a little way of letting you know that you've gotten all there is to proceed with a quest? Well, Elden Ring's way of letting you know is a bit, baffling. An NPC will talk their smack and then end the convo, making you think you're good to go, only to find out there's more if you talk to them again and again, until they start repeating themselves, because that's the only way to be sure. Lastly, Elden Ring's co-op is cool in theory. You summon your friends from their world into yours and it's probably backed by some lore reason as to how and why, but I'm used to Borderlands style co-op where I just vibe with my homies. You know, a bit of a seamless co-op experience. Overall, Elden Ring is a wonderful introduction to Souls-like games and Fromsoftware's remarkable world building. I always feared playing a Fromsoftware game on mouse and keyboard would be a nightmare, but to my pleasant surprise, it felt amazingly smooth, which is why I'ma give Elden Ring a solid...
I looked at a tree the other day, like really looked at a tree.
What did the tree do?
Nothing, it was a tree.
out of 10. That's about it. Don't forget to slap like, slap wife, hit subscribe, and I'll catch you next time.